Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. You may notice a little change up above where it says, it's what before, I think it said Howard's Notebook or something. But I've put, showmeblog.com, and I ordered a hat that is going to say, will say showmeblog.com, and I ordered a t-shirt, I think it is. I think it's a t-shirt that says showmeblog.com. Advertising, advertising. Anyway, as you know, I'm supposed to, on the 3rd of January, have eye surgery for a cataract, and then they're going to do the other eye later. Same thing for, cataract. And of course, I do tend to put things off, everything off. But today's the 26th, and the eye surgery is supposed to be done on the 3rd. And I contacted my regular doctor because they're supposed to do a survey. Actually, I think the only thing is it's kind of a formality, but I guess you know how they are about being sued and all that kind of stuff nowadays. Yeah. So anyway, I contacted my regular doctor, and they can't get me an appointment in to, and really it's, well, I guess, there again, it's a, they don't want something to happen, and they don't want to get sued for, well, you didn't do such and such, or you didn't check this, or you didn't do whatever. Anyway, they can't get me in, so tomorrow I'm going to have to figure out, I'll have to talk to the eye surgery place and see if they want to reschedule my appointment for the eye surgery, or if there's something that they can, that they can do. I mean, I'll make a suggestion to them. I don't think they'll go for that because you have to worry so much about people doing something. Like when I worked hospital security, at this one hospital I worked at, a small hospital, a whole bunch of people there were popping in, especially when one doctor was working, to get narcotics. They'd even call the emergency room and say, "Is Dr. So-and-so working tonight?" And then finally the nurses, realized, okay, and among themselves they said, "No, if somebody calls and says, is Dr. So-and-so, or is any, who's the doctor working tonight? Don't tell them." Because that doctor they were asking about was somebody who would give them what they wanted just to get him out of so he could go to bed, Um, so, okay, there was a reason I was going that direction. And I can't remember now what it was. But, oh, I know what it was. So I was working security there. So when these patients would come in with migraine headaches, or and they had a whole, the patient would come in and say, "I'm having migraine headaches," and the one thing, like one of the doctors, one time I was, a patient came in and the patient said, "Oh, okay, I'm having these," I forget if it was migraine headaches or what it was. "I'm having such and such, and I need something for it, I don't know what, but I need something for it. But I'm allergic to, and I can't stand, and I break out, or whatever, blah, blah, blah." I asked the doctor later, I said, "What was that whole thing?" He came in with a whole list of things, and, he said, the doctor said, "Well, when they do that because they're the only thing. There's only certain things you can use that are supposed to help. That. And what he did was he said that all of them, except for like Demerol or something, a controlled substance that that people want, and that was the only thing left for that the doctor could do. Now back to that subject again, but so these people would come in for this one doctor who, a doctor who would just, because that doctor, he was the head ER doctor at the small hospital. He was the doctor at another hospital where he was a doctor in charge of the training and that, the setting up things for the other doctors and that type of stuff. And he was taking, it was fellowship, I think it was, or something like that, something that you didn't normally hear. Wasn't a fellowship. But he was taking that so that he would get some type of a certification and for elderly people. Because this doctor, he had all these things going, and he he was going to, when he got that certification, fellowship, or whatever it's called, he was then going to start up nursing homes, and be making money from the nursing homes. By the way, this head ER doctor or whatever, when he came to work there at this small hospital, he was working at these other hospitals. When he came in, it was I know a Saturday or Sunday because I came on at 6 p.m. And so then he comes in to go, to work his first shift there. And he introduced himself to the, the two ER nurses and to the X-ray tech and what. Then he came over, and then he said, he put this thing, okay, now we're all a team. That includes you, Jim. You're security, and we're all going to work together. We're going to do this. And he says, when a patient comes in, if they've got a hurt leg or sprained or whatever, you can get them into a wheelchair. Of course, I was doing all that stuff for years, before. But, you can get them a cold compress or a heat pack or whatever, whatever, and, do that kind of. And then he said, then the nurses do this, and we all work as a team. And there was an elderly nurse there, Virginia Long, she was kind of a pain in the butt for some people. And at first she didn't like me because I was security, and she didn't like, I don't know that she didn't like security, but I think she didn't like the police. And she, and so for a little bit she was, but then we became best of buddies. And, but she was a character. But anyway, then and the ER doctor that had just, the head one that came in, he was going back to the little room that he had there where, the doctor could sleep, and they had a computer in there, and they had a TV set and that kind of stuff. And if they were needed, then they came out. So, Virginia said, and I said, about the doctor. And I said, no, I think, and she said, nope. She said, I've been a nurse for a long time, I said, I know you have, Virginia. And I said, no, I think that's the whole right. She said, no, you'll see. She says, you'll see. So the next day that I came in, 6 p.m., and they had an infant or a child, I don't know how old, but young, came in, and I by the way I took a EMT course and passed it. Can't remember what the esophagus or whatever it was. Something in there that medical, EMTs, paramedics, and nurses and other people learn if there's a problem with a child, with a baby. I'm not sure of the age. Can't remember now. If that's, if there's a problem with that, I don't care if you're the doctor, you don't probe that, or whatever you would do. You don't probe that or whatever. What you do is you get them to, the nearest children's hospital, if there is one, and there was one in Kansas City, Missouri. And, if necessary, you get them there by helicopter or whatever's necessary. And then they can do it there if they have to, if they think they need to probe it. So anyway, I came in and the nurses were saying, "Doctor, well, you shouldn't have done that because it's indicated, that you're not supposed to do that. That can show, you're checking that to see what it is, and it can close up, and then you've got major problems, a big problem." "Oh, no, no, no," he says, And so the nurse just reached over and grabbed the medical off the shelf there and flipped it, and said, "There it is, right there, doctor, you can read it." And he said, I don't pay no attention to that. Now, then at this point, I was, I don't know, because I know these nurses were good, and especially like this one nurse, the older nurse, Virginia. Really nice. She's passed away, but really nice lady. So I come in the next day, 6 o'clock, and I think maybe the doctor, maybe he was going off at 6 p.m. I think that might have been the case. Anyway, didn't matter to the story, Jim. So he gave I came in, he had given the nurses a little test, 5 or 6 questions or whatever on the test, and then he graded them, and one of the questions was, if a patient presents himself, an infant or whatever with such and such, is it okay to probe or something? And the nurses all put no, 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 that thing. And he said, and he graded that thing. He had the nerve. He graded, and then he put for that, that they put no. He made that wrong, that, you could probe or whatever. And then I knew, okay. So then he and I went around a few times after that, not over medical things. Oh, I got on this subject. Okay. How did I get on this entire subject? The entire subject or my point that I was trying to get to is that people go to the hospital and, they lie in order to get medications, Sometimes they're pretty dumb. I'm not going to mention what is a tip-off, but as security, we also had somebody from DEA come and, do classes with us as to how to spot somebody who, is just trying to get drugs or has a fake prescription or something like that. I'm not going to give you any more, no reason for me to give you information. Okay. So people would come to this little hospital because this one doctor was working especially. And maybe it was more, because maybe they also, even if he wasn't there, maybe people were telling these people, well, go to Research Belton Hospital. And the doctor there, he'll just give you whatever, you just tell him what you want, what narcotics you want or whatever. Whatever's going to make you feel good, and just tell him that's what you want and he'll give it to you. So one of the things that security needed to do, the nurses would ask these patients, when they were, okay, well, the doctor says you can have, Demerol or whatever it is, but you have to have somebody who can drive you home. I can drive myself. No, you can't drive yourself. We're not giving you the shot unless you have somebody who can drive you home. And so then they'd have to, well, yeah, I got somebody, and then the nurses would have to tell me, hey, this person is supposed to be, driving, and I've seen, one I've seen of people, lie about whether they had somebody, and then one person called a cab to take them, because there I was, and they called a cab to take them. And then I saw them get in the cab, and then I went through the hospital, and I went to the front door, and I saw them get out of the cab, and then go back and get in their car, and whatever. So, okay. Here in the United States, and I'm not sure how, probably works similar in other countries. Well, we have Social Security, and our Social Security is not as good as Canada's. They don't call it Social Security, but their health care plan. The United States' Social Security isn't as good as, and when I say Social Security, I'm also talking about, medical insurance and what have you. I got sidetracked again. Man, if you could just see, too bad I can't somehow, have a thing back here that would read, kind of thing, and you'd see that I have an idea, and it's something, but then I get sidetracked in someplace else. So on Social Security, that's money that, the Republicans, right-wing people here in the United States, they think, oh, no, that's just terrible. The government gives people money, Social Security, and of course Medicare comes in there in the same thing, but in a different program. So I worked 30 years hospital security, but then I also worked other jobs. I worked as a welder, at different locations. I mean, built gigantic trucks. I worked a while in an oil refinery in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I worked, and I usually worked, when I was working hospital security, I usually worked a second job on my days off a lot of the times. So I worked a lot. Okay, every hour that I worked, my employer paid me. And also my employer took out money, the money that to go to the government for Social Security and Medicare. And so I earned that money. That was part of my salary. But that went for Social Security. But a lot of people who are undoubtedly stupid don't realize, that, hey, Social Security is like an insurance policy. When I worked, the government, for tax purposes and whatever, and for benefits in the future, they took out from my salary. My employer kicked in. That was part of his expenses. He paid me so much an hour, and a percentage of that, the same percentage that they took out of my paycheck, went, So every year they send you a paper. So I already know. I'm just doing this for so I can make a bunch of money on YouTube. I'm not making money on YouTube, but I should be, but I'm not. So they send you this thing, of course, to tell you how much that you're making, or how much they're going to give you, and how much it's going to go for. Man, I guess I should have tore off this thing here on the edges there. But they send you this thing, and you need to save this, because if you're doing various things, if you want to I don't know what. People will want to see this. And it's how much, Okay. How much will you get? Your monthly benefits before deductions. This is monthly. 1,000. This is for me. And I'm about average. When the news, every year when they report about the cost of living increase or whatever it is, they always say, the CNN or newspaper will say, the average Social Security worker or Social Security person gets, and I'm always that number just about exactly. So my monthly benefits are 1,614 and then 70 cents. Okay. Now, even though I have paid, not just me, but all the workers have paid in to Medicare medical insurance so that you have medical care. They're not giving it to you for free. The medical care. So they deduct $174.70. Okay, and then there's U.S. federal withholding. No, none of that's done on me. Voluntary relief. None of that's done on me. So, I will get every month $1,440. But a person needs to hang on to this because you're going to be asked if you're for various things. If somebody applies for food stamps or something, they're going to want to see this to see how much you make. And if you make too much or something, then you don't get food stamps or something. In case you're wondering, I actually make too much to get food stamps. But Darlene, my ex-wife, she makes about half of what I make, or she gets about half of this amount, almost exactly. Because the way it works, if you're married for over 10 years and you get divorced, then the ex-wife, or it could be an ex-husband or something, they get half of what. Now they're not taking it out of this, but the amount they get is half. That's just the way it works out. Okay. What else? I have some news. Yeah, I think I might have mentioned it. I mentioned a while back that on a YouTube video here that we don't have a car, and I just walked out to the the moon tonight is extra big and extra bright, but because of my cataracts in both eyes, I can't really see the detail on the moon, but I can see that it's big and bright, and it's in the sky. But I mentioned in a YouTube video that it was kind of dangerous for me to walking through this apartment complex. They don't have a lot of light. I mean, they have enough light. Well, they really don't. Having work security would be great if all these every place had, bright lights. That would help. But then you have to take into consideration, a lot of things. You're not going to be seeing the stars and stuff like that if you have bright lights everywhere. It's going to be a problem for astronomers, although those places are usually built, I mean, there's all types of things to take into consideration. But anyway, I mentioned that it was kind of unsafe for me, and then I mentioned, at the same time I mentioned that I had gone down to Cafe, I think it was, what's the name of the place? Anyway, I'd gone someplace and come back in dark. And I thought, and I mentioned then I made a video, and one of the things I threw in there was, I need to get a light on me. I was thinking on my coat, a pen or something like that. Somebody, one of the fans of Jim Howard and of Howard's Notebook, I showed this before. Now, this doesn't do justice to this thing, by the way, because this is flashing blue and red. But because of the frames per second or something like that, it really doesn't do justice. And, of course, outside it's really, bright. Yeah, let's see. That's off. That's strictly white, and they're flashing, I think. Yeah. So, oops. Oh, come on here. Yeah. Okay, there. Well, it shows a little better there, doesn't it, when I do that? This is, of course, rechargeable, off of USB. What else is there? No, I haven't taken any of my morning medication, and it's 7 p.m. at night. Lordy. I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Oh no, I have other news. Wait, don't touch the mouse. I think I already mentioned that. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I did. I ordered in a T-shirt that has showmeblog.com on it, and then I got a hat that's coming in that says showme, blog.com. So that's it. Except I've got a headache right now. Anyway, I never really get headaches. But when I get a headache, then I figure brain tumor or something, Well, thanks for watching. Oh no, I have another. All right, by the way. A while back, I set up a thing on YouTube. No, PayPal, where you could, asking for like $1,000 to buy new computer equipment and make some, I talked about that, make some improvements. And I said you could, make a donation or whatever. And one person donated $50. Now on this PayPal thing where you can set it up, and anybody can set something up. You don't have to be, you have a sick baby or whatever it can be for anything. And so I set it up for $1,000. But anyway, at the end of 30 days, the thing expires. And one who requested to remain anonymous, a person donated $50. And so that was the end of that. And then I decided, well, so I set up another one on PayPal. And then it ran for a few days, and then I thought, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I understand. I think it's a great idea. If somebody has some money and somebody wants to donate to, improve a situation, build a control room for somebody, whatever they want to do, that's a good idea. It's a good idea too for if if you're helping animals or if you're helping, whatever you're doing. So, but anyway, I set it up and I thought, I just don't feel comfortable setting it up so somebody's going to donate money so that I can buy a bigger and better computer or something like that, which is what I was, So anyway, I discontinued it. Well, then I thought, so I canceled that. But then if you are somebody who uses PayPal, a lot of us do, I do. And if you use PayPal, it's really convenient to, send somebody some money or do something like that. You just comes out of your PayPal thing, and goes to them, or they can send you, my ex-wife and I sometimes, send money back and forth to each other when we need it or whatever, because we're poor. And so it's really convenient. So I decided, well, I'll just let people know that if you have a PayPal account, you can, if you have a PayPal account, you can go to your PayPal thing and you can do, send money to, and then you just enter, showmeblog.com, send it to showmeblog.com. And then, then it goes. And then it shows up in my, account. So I put that information out in several, I don't know how many I put it out into and how many times. Because I did. I put it out. And then, by the way, and I told you that I canceled the other thing, where you actually set up a thing and then you have things you can tell people what you're trying to get money for and all this kind of stuff. I canceled that. Well, what I didn't realize then, that I was putting out, to showmeblog.com, that I was actually putting out that thing. And so at least one person, clicked on it to donate, or maybe just to see what it looked like, whatever, using PayPal. And it came back a bad URL or whatever. So if you happen to run in, I went, I hate looking at my own videos or hearing myself, believe it or not. But if you happen to run across one of those where it's, you click, then if you let me know which, video it is, I'll go on. I went and deleted the ones that I could find. And, but there may still be one someplace, so if you see it, hey, let me know and I'll go in there and delete that. But I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching.